I made a choice to do the last Motor's last four albums as one. The a mixed bunch for me, and it was hard listening to them because knowing that what was behind it was Lemmy's, his health was going down all the time. Uh, so yeah, I kind of always think of them sort of together those last few years. I don't know them as I'll be first to admit, I don't know them really as well as I know some of their other albums. In fact, most of their other albums, the earlier ones. Um, I don't know what's about the last few ones, but I was aware that Lemmy's health wasn't what it should be, and all that sort of thing. So it's kind of hard listening sometimes. But also one thing that did do it was when Motorizer 2008, the first of the four, was released. I had not been Kiss of Death had started off really strong, the first three tracks, and then I've worked out in the review I did of that actually approximately half the album I thought was good. The other half was filler for me. So I was kind of hoping for something like, even like, excuse me, it's like something like another Inferno or something. I was just really hoping there'd be something with Blaze, But what came out was Motorizer, and I heard that I don't know if it was released as a single or something, but the track that seemed to be pushing was Rock Out. I don't know, it's just that Ace of Spades riff had been recycled one too many times for me. I don't know what it was. It just sounded bland. It sounded Motorhead by numbers. It was just uninspired, and yeah, I didn't care for it. And I heard the rest of the album basically on YouTube. I confess, hands up, I spent enough money on Motorhead over the years, but I didn't get this album based on what I heard. Run Around Man was kind of catchy, and that made a good opening track. Kind of a bit of an infectious one, but English Rose was kind of good fun. But for some reason, it took me ages to hear the track that for me is just head and shoulders above all the others on that album, which, generally speaking, are pretty unmemorable for me. And that's A Thousand Names of God. I mean, God. And there is straight when Lemmy was really inspired. You got these epic titles. Just imagine armies through history fighting in the name of some god or other. The Crusades and all that sort of thing. A Thousand Names of God. That slide guitar, which I've just learnt wasn't Phil Campbell. It was Wesley Michener. I don't know. First time to hear that name, but brilliant, really wonderful lyrics, brilliant subject matter, and that slide. This is new, and it's not even like it's a blues track. Fantastic crunching Motorhead riff, and that's when Motorhead, as I say, Lemmy was inspired to take that lyrics the extra notch. So yeah, for some reason, it took me ages to hear that track, and that's one of my all-time Motorhead faves. And what a title, yeah. I'd say The Thousand Names of God. It's like sort of an old, one of those epic Hollywood movies type. I'm trying to think of like the Cleopatra of Richard Burton and Elizabeth. I forget her second name, but that sort of epic. Yeah, it just conjures up that epic type of thing for me. Thousand Names of God. Yeah, but so for me, that's when I started to. I wasn't so, but I wouldn't just get the album because it was Motorhead. I was like, well, my first taste of that album had been Rock Out, and well, I've already said it wasn't for me. So that was for me. That was Motorizer, and I've got the Motorhead album list here. Maybe I've got to tab back. Excuse me a minute. I've got the discography up here. Right. Then that was 2008 Motorizer, and 2010 The Wörld Is Yours. Once again, I think I just heard the tracks. Yeah, this album was a lot stronger for me. The tracks, a lot of good tracks on this one, and they just it just seemed like they were. I thought maybe Lemmy was feeling better or something, because I know it says from 2012 or 2013, following his when he had to cut the set short at Wacken. That's when it really started. But you read like Mick Wall's biography of Lemmy, You know, I mean, from 2000, that's when he was diagnosed type 2 diabetes. But apparently 2003, even they were like, the doctors were like, you've got to stop doing what you're doing. You know, it's not going to work. You know, you somehow in 2000 you collapsed in 2000 diabetes, and you're still drinking your Coca-Cola and your whiskey and doing whatever, 40 Marlboro Reds a day and all sort of, anyway, but everyone knows all that. But so he was really struggling, even from the early 2000s. And there's that story, I think Scott Ian of Anthrax, is that his name? The bald guy with the beard. I don't really know the band, but he was good mates with Lemmy. And, seems like a really nice guy. He was talking affable bloke. But he said the story about Lemmy, the diabetes, it looked like he was going to lose a couple of toes. And he went in for the operation. It was like something like he was waiting to go in, and he lit a cigarette, and some nurse said to him, "What the hell are you doing? You can't smoke in here. It's a hospital." And Lemmy said, "Well, I'm going to lose some toes. If I'm going to lose some toes, I'm going to have a cigarette." And I said, "No, you're not." And so Lemmy was really stubborn. He said, "Screw you, then you're not, you're not having my toes." And he walked out. This is a story. And he went to another doctor, and the doctor said, "This is rubbish. You haven't got to lose your toes. We just got to make some modifications to your diet to account for the diabetes, and circulation will improve." And he kept his toes. This was a story. But I know a few times he was in trouble with his feet. I mean, towards the end, he had to wear those shoes. He couldn't wear his boots anymore because diabetes, getting the limb extremities. And there's that awful, not to go on about Lemmy's health because it's pretty distressing, but he was being interviewed and his hands are shaking. You saw that on the stage anyway, but he was being interviewed by this guy. I think they went upstairs at the Rainbow, and he had that very thick speech towards the end, like kind of like, I think, so the cancer on his brain, anyway. But so I mean, but even before things got really bad, so what I'm trying to say is basically, by now his health was causing problems. So the fact that he could in 2010 make a record like The Wörld Is Yours, fantastic. Born to Lose. Second one, I Know How to Die Again. This is like the previous album, that Rock Out. This is one they sort of pushed. I think Lemmy even played it. Motörhead even played it live a lot. Just average for me. 3, Get Back in Line. Here we go. When Lemmy was inspired again, and it's in the video for that. They smash up they go in these bankers, and these bankers just playing with soldiers' lives. They've got cards of send X thousand soldiers to this war for oil and all this sort of thing. Fantastic stinging indictment of the top echelon, the powers that be. Get back in line. And such. And again, when Lemmy was inspired, with lyrics, "We are the dogs of war, we don't even know what for, but we obey the law." I think Get Back in Line. "We are the sacrifice, we don't like advice, we always pay the price, pearls before swine." Yeah. Again, Lemmy, he was inspired, and the lyrics went up accordingly. Rock and roll music, great boogie. Yeah, just it's my head. It's not like pretending to be anything it's not, but it's not overstated either for me. There's that nice little bit of subtlety. Waiting for the Snake, brilliant. So you are a mystery, you are a bitch to me. Yeah. And that really good, straight into that rolling riff, crunching riff. Now, I want to skip the track there, which would be Brotherhood of Man. Motörhead, really good. They, like someone said, they made the obvious comparison to Orgasmatron. Interesting enough, I saw Wurzel been talking about that one, and Lemmy said he woke up, he was half asleep, and he wrote the lyrics for Orgasmatron in the middle of the night, and then went back to sleep. And apparently woke up in the morning, he saw them, and he couldn't remember writing them. But anyway, he said to Wurzel, "I've got these lyrics, I need some music for it. Just one chord will do." And so Wurzel said, "Well, how about E?" And then we went, "All right." So that's how they got it. And they did the same sort of thing for Brotherhood of Man. But really effective, really good. It's like a new Orgasmatron, but the only thing it's got in common is a one note riff. It's the rhythm's completely different. And we are the world. We are disease upon the world, Brotherhood of Man. Lemmy spitting his disdain for the human race, which sometimes could be a bit sort of, for me, get a bit, oh, all right, mate, here we go again. But sometimes like this, it really worked, you know, especially when you know, great music behind it. Outlaw, just classic, good song. I know what you want. I know what you 9 and 10. Bye bye, bitch. Bye bye. No arguing with that one. Yeah, yeah, two good songs to finish. So for me, the only track that was for me was I Know How to Die, which is, you know, 1 out of 10 songs. And for many others, it was like, you know, they played it live and it was a popular one. So really good album. Cameron Webb now was with them to the end. So he was doing wonders in the studio. And as Lemmy's voice began to get sort of a bit weaker, he was really concentrating on, I guess he was multi-tracking. Lemmy did several takes and then sort of gluing all the tracks together. So Lemmy, the strength was still in the voice on the record at least. Yeah, that's about that one there. So that was The World Is Yours. And then we got, well, so Aftershock now. This is when Lemmy was getting pretty sick, 2013. So he'd had his collapse at Wacken. I think he had to get off stage early. Yeah, let's have a look. Man, most of these, I tried to listen to none of these songs stick out for me. They're not really doing much for me. But which is just my problem, because this got pretty much really good reviews, you know. I can't help but think sometimes some of these reviewers, they realised that Motorhead were on their way, or Lemmy was on, you know, on the way out, and they kind of tried to sort of make up for dismissing them beforehand, you know. It was too little too late. No, maybe that's not true, but it's just weird how suddenly, I mean, I'm a pretty committed Motorhead fan. For me, Aftershock is a bit meh generally, but yeah, all these reviews suddenly came out. The best thing Motorhead done in years, just random. Some of Phil Campbell's finest work. Yeah. Deeply satisfying, frequently thrilling. I'm just quoting various reviews here. I don't know. Lost Woman Blues is the only one I can even hum. I can't even hum any of the others. But yeah, it's Lost Woman Blues. What's that? I'm trying to think the track off Overkill. Well, I've never done nothing that's ever gonna change my life. Limb from Limb. It's kind of got Lost Woman Blues. It's kind of got that Limb from Limb feel, because it's that slow blues, that sort of almost like a bit of a porno riff. And then apparently, you know, so they tell me. And then going to, you know, suddenly hey Dad, it suddenly speeds up, you know, becomes a hard rocking Motorhead track. So yeah, that's Lost Woman Blues. But apart from that, yeah, I can't read. That's about all I can say about that album. I can't even. I'm seeing all these titles: Death Machine, Dust and Glass. I've heard. Yeah, that was all right. Going to Mexico, Silence When You Speak to Me, Cry Shame. Yeah, I can't. Most of these tracks I don't know. So, well, I mean, I've heard them, but they just haven't stuck in my head. That was Aftershock. And then onto the final album, Bad Magic. 22nd and final album. So Lemmy released on 28th of August. So Lemmy had, you know, another 4 months left in this world. And the fact that he just kept going to the end is just awesome. You know, they said it, you know, Todd Singerman, the manager, said, you know, towards the end he couldn't do sound, you know, be playing live, he couldn't do sound check, he couldn't do interviews, and, you know, be lying. And Todd Singerman would say to him, and if he was there at the show, and if Lemmy's, you know, long time girlfriend, Cheryl, I think, Cheryl, black lady with her brother, noticeable attributes, but she apparently really looked after Lemmy for years, you know. And they both say to him, you know, Lemmy, you know, you don't have to do this, you know. And he say, no, I've got to do it. And they said even if it hurt him to stand, he'd go out there and do it. So he really did fight it right to the end. I mean, given they had all that stuff, the cancer in his brain and stuff, which, you know, they picked up in a few more months, but that was there then, and he was up on stage, you know. And he was also somehow found the strength to make this album. And again, apart from the cover of Sympathy for the Devil, Rolling Stones, I don't know any of these tracks. I've heard them, they're just gone over my head, but I'm not gonna get into whether they're fill or whatever, because the fact that even they made the strength to make them is just absolutely awe-inspiring. And one thing this album did provide for me is one of my top-notch favourite ever Motörhead songs. So right near the end, and somehow Lemmy found in him to write or collaborate with the rest of the guys, but he did the lyrics, "When the sky comes looking for you." Again, just that epic title, when it, you know, big concept, when the sky, how awesome is that? You know, when the sky comes looking for you. What do you think? What would you do when the sky comes looking for you? Yeah, just brilliant, and really just a good sort of chordy Phil Campbell. I think it's just a D and a D4. Just how they could take these simple chordal things, you know, nothing fancy, and just turn something new and fresh. And that song is another great track. One of my all-time favourites, that one. It's just one of those, everything is just perfect. It all sort of comes together. I was just thinking of the word amalgamate. I don't know if that's the correct word. So again, it got generally positive reviews from critics who by now I think they knew what the score was. So they're probably maybe actually starting to be a bit kind. You know, maybe it'd be nice if they'd done that a few years before. Could have given Motorhead a lot more press and helped to get a lot more out there, rather than just sort of, yeah, it's a Motorhead record, you know, stuff like Inferno, which was just awesome. So yeah, by now they realise what the score is, so they're being nice. To, you know, to a record which was obviously not going to be one of their strongest records because of Lemmy's health condition. In fact, you know, someone wrote, Lemmy exhibits the vocal wear and tear of a man whose long-beaten gravelly pipes are betraying him due to a natural aging process. Thanks for that, Einstein. Then he continued. This guy, was it Ray Van Horn from Blabbermouth? Then he finishes, "You're a total piece of crap if you knock a guy who's given us his all for decades." Well, yeah, right, you know. So right. So yeah, it was up to, well, a lot of it was down to Cameron Webb to try and piece it all together, which he did so well, and he did that for a number of albums. So well done, and thank you, Mr. Webb. And you know, so right towards the end, together with Motorhead and Lemmy stubbornly persisting right to the end, they got a track like "When the Sky Comes Looking for You," which I say is like one of my top ever Motorhead tracks. I'm going to do my top 10 soon. And yeah, that was it. So yeah, as I say, it was released, well, it was released 28th of August and 2015. Lemmy would pass away, what was it? I don't think it was even 4 months later. So if all we had, you know, he really did keep it going right to the end. Absolutely just admirable, just amazing. Sheer power of the mind, you know, for everything that was happening with him physically. So there was Lemmy's, or Motorhead's final 4 albums there, and that's concluding, unless I do any of the what do you call them? Unofficial, the ones that aren't strictly in Motorhead's discography. That are supposed to be live albums, but other than that, I think I've done pretty much all their studio albums. This could conclude it. Cheers.